Morning everybody. So we are going to start our English lesson today by doing a bit of a vocab blast. So just like we do in school, and we're going to recap some of the vocabulary that we've been learning in computing just before the holidays. So let's go back and have a look at two different pieces of technology that we have got in front of us that we are familiar with, thankfully. So on the left here, we've got a computer. And we've talked about the different features and different parts of a computer. So I'm going to highlight them for you here as we talk through them. So let's have a look at the computer first. And down here at the bottom, have a think about what this part of our computer is called. So hopefully you've said it's a keyboard. So we've got some keywords here underneath as well. So this part of my computer is a keyboard. Okay. We've also got this little object down here. Have a little think about what it is called, and hopefully you've said it is a mouse. Okay, and we use this to navigate around our computer, okay, using our fingers. Here is another part of our computer. Now, it can have two words to it. It can be called a screen or a monitor, but most of the time on a computer it's called a monitor, but you might also hear it called a screen. So I just wanted to familiarise yourself with both of those words. Okay, let's have a look at this then. So a laptop, which a lot of you probably got at home and are watching me on possibly. So on our laptop here, this time it's attached to our laptop, and this is the screen or the monitor. Okay, so this is our screen. In terms of the keyboard is down here on our laptop, and that's where all the keys are that we are typing on. And our mouse can be in one of two places on our laptop. Normally at the front here, you've got the mouse, which is where in class we've been clicking on it and moving the mouse around the screen. But you can also get a mouse and plug it in to your laptop to use it as well. So it can be attached as an accessory. So now we're familiar with these words, I'm going to flash some pictures up on the board and I want you to think what it is that I am showing you. So here, the word that we are looking at is mouse, okay? I want you to look at pictures number 1, number 2, and number 3, and have a little think, which of these pictures is the mouse? So hopefully you'll have said number 1. Number 1 is the mouse, because this is a keyboard and here I've got a laptop. So the second one I've got, my word that I want us to have a look at is computer. Okay, so is number 1 a computer, or is number 2 the computer? Have a little think. Hopefully you'll have said number 1. I changed it a bit here and I was a bit mean I didn't get a photograph. I got more of an illustration or a cartoon just to show a bit of variation. But number 1 is the computer and number 2 is, of course, a laptop, which looks like it's on someone's desk working from home there. And number 3, the last word I think we've got, is a keyboard. Okay, so is number 1 the keyboard, number 2 the keyboard, or number 3 the keyboard? Have a little think. So hopefully you've said number 1. So well done there for your vocab blast. Okay, so we've got our brains ready, exposed to a bit of vocabulary, and now we're going to go into our English lesson. So yesterday we read up to a new section of our book, Astro Girl. Okay, and we found that Astro Girl went where? So have a little think before I tell you and recap for you. Now pop some pictures up on the board. Her and her papa went in the car somewhere, and what did they find? Have a little think. Great. So if you need a bit more time, just pause it here. But what we should have been discussing is that Astrid and her papa went to the airbase, if you can remember. So they went to the airbase to meet somebody. We think it was her mama, because that's what it said in the book. But then when she got there, these 3 figures, which if you look at the middle picture here, these 3 figures arrived, okay? And we didn't really know who they were. We weren't sure where they came from, and we weren't sure what they were doing there, and we guessed that what they were holding might have been helmets. We made a prediction because they were at the space center, they were an air base, that they might have come out of a rocket and that they were wearing their helmets or even spacesuits. So some of you wrote in your questions that you thought that they might have been astronauts, okay? So potentially that's who the figures were. I'm not going to read you the end of the story today. You're going to have to wait for that. Maybe I'll read it you tomorrow. But what we are going to do today is have a look at some of the vocabulary that is used in the book. And we're going to focus and have a look at something called homophones. Okay, so I'll say that first. Homophones. Your turn. So homophones are words that sound the same, okay, and are pronounced the same, but they have different meanings. And sometimes they can be spelled slightly differently as well, but not all the time. Sometimes they're spelled the same, but sometimes they are spelled differently. So we're going to have a little look at some of the homophones that are used in the story today. So words that have different meanings. And what we have to do is we have to look at the context very carefully in the sentence to see which homophone we put in there. Otherwise, the sentence doesn't necessarily make sense because the word has a different meaning. So I've got an example for us here on the board. So this word here that I'm circling is mouse. And on the right-hand side, we've also got a mouse. Now, if I think of a mouse, most of the time, I think of this lovely little cute animal here, okay, which I know some people might be frightened of. Miss Whitehouse doesn't really like mice. But we've got our mouse on the screen. But thinking back to what we've just done in our Vocab Blast, we know that there are other types of mice, okay, so another form of mouse, and that is a computer mouse, okay? So here we've got a homophone because these words are pronounced the same, so they're said the same, but they have different meanings, okay? In this example, they are spelt the same. However, sometimes they're spelt differently. The most important thing we need to know is that they are different things or they mean different things, okay? So let's have a look at some words and some homophones that we might need to think about and explore when we're looking at our story with Astrid. So at the top of my screen here, I've got two different words and two homophones for us to have a little explore at. So here I've got the verb to be. Okay, so if I wanted to be an astronaut, or if I wanted to be a teacher when I grew up, so this is the verb to be. And the spelling of be is we've got a B and an E, so it's only got two letters in it. However, another homophone that sounds the same and we pronounce the same is this be. But this one is slightly different because, first of all, it's an insect. Okay, so it's different because it's an insect, whereas this is a verb, so a noun and a verb, but also it's spelt differently. So we've got a B and two E's, which is the sound we've actually learned in phonics today. So these are two different homophones, but they mean the same thing. Let's have a look then down at the bottom. So another two examples. So here we've got the word two, which is the number two, and it's spelt with a T, W, and an O. Okay, and I always think that's a bit silly because when we try and say it, it looks like we should be saying toi if we were saying it phonetically. Okay, but the way we actually pronounce it is the word two. And here we've got another word two, but it's a homophone of the first one because it's spelt differently and it has a different meaning. Okay, so let's have a little look. I've got a couple of sentences here that I want us to just have a little think about. So you can have a go at reading these at home, and we're going to work out what goes in this gap here. And I've got the words below. So we're going to read the sentence, look at the two words, and pop the correct homophone in that sentence. Okay. So let's read the sentence. I can see a stripy. So I'm going to read that fluently now. I can see a stripy. Right. So here are my two homophones below. Here I've got the verb to be. Or I could use be as in a buzzy bee, an object? Is it I can see a stripy verb to be? Or is it I can see a stripy insect bee? Well, I can use the clue that's in my picture that I know that this bee is stripy. Okay, so the word stripy is an adjective and it's describing a noun. So we need a noun to be in that place. So it can't be bee because it's a verb. So it's got to be this spelling of bee. So if I was going to write it, I would be writing a stripy bee. Well done if you got that correct at home. Then I've got another word here. So here I've got a sentence. At the start of my sentence, I've got a tricky word. There are ants. There are ants. Right, that's my sentence. Now I need to look and see which homophone I need to be putting in it. So here I've got the number 2. So this tells me an amount of something. Or I've got 2 as if I'm going to a place. There are 2 ants, or there are 2 ants. It's actually saying the amount of something. So here I'd use the homophone 2 like this. Okay, so these are our first 4 words that we need to be looking at. I've also got some more for you to do. So I'm giving you quite a bit of a challenge today at home to have a go at. But let's see how well you do. So here, and I'll highlight them again for you, I've got the word new. Can you say new? So if something is new, it might be a new jumper, or it might be a new t-shirt, or it might be a new pencil. Okay, something that you've not used before, something that's basically just come from the shop or just been made. Okay, so it's describing, it's another adjective. Whereas this spelling of new is slightly different, because if we look here, it's got a K at the front, and we didn't have a K at the front here. So the homophone is different because the spelling is different. But remember, they sound the same when we pronounce them. This spelling of new and this homophone of new means that we know something. Okay, it's the past tense of to know something. So that is a verb. So the past tense of to know something. So we've got new and new. Underneath, which one of them's got our sound in today, we've got 2 other words. So this word here is C. Okay, so in this context, the C, and using this homophone, is another word for the ocean. Okay, so an area with lots of water. So here we've got the sea, so it's a noun, the name of something. Whereas on the other side, I've got E, so it sounds the same and pronounced the same, but the spelling of it is slightly different. And the reason being is because this version of seeing is to see something. Okay, so it's a verb. So whereas this one before is a noun, this one here is a verb. So let's have a go now at trying to pop those in some sentences. So let's have a go at reading this sentence again. So I have got a simple sentence. I'm going to read it, choose the word, think about it, and pop it in the right context. So here I've got I, can, you. So I can, you. And either of the homophones that needs to go in this is see, as in to look at something, or see as in the ocean. I can see ocean you. That doesn't really make sense. I can see as in to look at you. Yes, so here it's the verb. In that sentence, we need a verb to tell us what they are doing. So I can see you. Okay, remember make sure that spelling is correct. So use these below to help you. Here I've got another simple sentence to complete with one of these words. So I've got I have a bag. I have a something bag. Now, is it going to be the adjective new, as in something that's been bought and hasn't been untouched or unused, or is it going to be new, as in to know them? I have a know bag, as in they've known the bag, or a new, as in it's a new bag that they haven't used before. I think in that context, the correct homophone should be new. Oh, a bit of a challenge this time, and hopefully you'll be able to look at the pictures and think about what these words mean. So here I've got a word. Let's have a go at sounding it out. So we can say night. Okay, so this is at night time. So when it's dark and the moon's out and the stars are out, this is telling me when something is happening, okay, potentially. So at night or in the day. Whereas over here, we've got a K at the front. Now this is tricky because it looks like we should go knight. But remember, homophones sound the same. We pronounce them the same. So if we pronounce this one night, then this one is also going to be night. So it's got a silent K at the beginning of it. However, this is a knight. Okay, we've got a lovely picture of him here. And he is, well, he was at a castle and protecting people. Okay, and you can see he's got his weapons there and his armor on to protect him as well. So let's see if we can pop these in one of my sentences. So here I've got my sentence. It was cold, last. So I've got two versions of night. It was cold last night. So the adjective cold, so it's describing the weather. Would we say it was cold last and think about the person of a night? No, I don't think we would. We'd talk about night time because it's normally quite cold at night. And I don't know about you, but I was very cold last night. It was freezing. So this is the correct homophone, the night. I've got a bit of a challenge here, and some of you might find this a little bit tricky at home. So if you do, don't worry, but I'll put a challenge on for some of you to have a think about. So I've got two words here. I've got quiet and quite. So if something is quiet, we've got to speak really quietly. Okay, that means the volume has decreased quite a bit. Whereas here I've got quite. Okay, so quite, so we'd like a little bit of something. I've also got there. And if you see here, it's spelled considerably different to the other spelling of there. So here I've got an E and an R, and here I've got an E, R and an E. So if we're using this form of there, then it's for possession, okay, when something belongs to you. So for example, I like their hat, or their shoes are red, or I like their toy car that they've got at home. So this shows the possession and who that object belongs to. Whereas this form of there shows the position of something. So for example, oh, Miss Reed sits over there, or the children are sat over there, etc. So we'll have a go at popping these in some sentences. This is my challenge for you, so don't worry if you find it a little bit tricky. The main ones are what I want you to get done first. So here I've got another simple sentence that we'll have a little go at reading. It says, it is very in the house. So I'm going to read that fluently now. It is very in the house. Right. So is it quiet? It is very quiet in the house, or it is very quiet in the house. So we're describing what it's like in the house. And because we're describing the volume of it, be quiet. So we'd pop it in this box here. And then I've got another exclamation phrase here. I've got look, that's a tricky one. Let me try a split digraph. Over. Look over. Are we describing possession? Does anything in that sentence belong to anybody? No. Whereas it's telling the position of something. So this is the correct there. Okay. So now what I want you to have a go at doing is I've made a sheet and I've popped it up on the school website for you to have a little look at. Or if you want to, you can freeze this screen and get your parents to write these down quickly, but it is also on the school website for you to have a look at. So you've got some word cards, okay? And I want you to see if you can match the correct homophones together. So for example, I've got two, and I need to look at the other side and see if I could find it N-E-C, no, new, night, two. It's that one there. So I'd have to match the two of them up, and then I would do the same for the other ones. You've got a big sheet now where I want you to either print them off and cut them up, or have a go at writing them down and match all the different homophones up at home. So have a little go at doing that for me. So this is your first activity. So if you can pause that and do that for me now, that would be great. It'll probably take about 5-ish minutes. You've got some that look like this and without the pictures, and you've also got some with the pictures. So choose which ones you need to have a look at doing at home. Okay, so give yourselves a little bit of time to do that, but make sure they're being matched up. So once you've finished that, that's great. So if you've paused the screen and you're now back watching this video, we're going to have a little go at looking at these words in sentences and thinking which word is correct. So I'm going to read that sentence and I want us to identify the correct homophone in it. So Astrid knew that she wanted to be an astronaut from the age of 2. Right, Astrid knew that she wanted to be an astronaut from the age of 2. So let's look at the first one. So the words we need to check are in blue. So Astrid knew. So this is something Astrid is doing. So is it an adjective or is it a verb if she's doing it? It's a verb. So knew, this one, remember, meant that it might have been sparkly or shiny, something that hasn't been used before. And this version of knew, if I look here, means that you're knowing something. So I think it's this one. So Astrid knew that she wanted to be. Well, it can't be 2, as in the number 2, because that doesn't make any sense because it's not an amount. So it's got to be this 2. To be. Is it be as in, no, it can't be be as in an insect, so it's got to be this B. So Astrid knew that she wanted to be an astronaut from the age of 2. Let me check. Let me think. Which one is it? Oh, I remember it's this one. The amount. Let me check. Yeah. Fab. Let's have a little look at another sentence I've got. Oh, this is a bit of a challenging one. So this has got my challenge words in it. Okay. So I've got, there was nothing quite like the thought of being able to see the stars. There. So we talked a bit about this, didn't we? As in this one here shows us the possession of something. We're not talking about possession in this context. So the spelling, the correct homophone is here. There was nothing quite. Which one is quite? Quite. There we go. There's nothing quite like the thought of being able to see the stars. See. Let me check. Is it this one? Let me check. Oh no, it's not that one because that's the ocean. So it's this homophone spelling of see. And my last one, I've got my last sentence here and it says, the moon was in the night sky. It was in the night sky. Let me look back at my pictures. Is it this night or is it this night? It's definitely the night time rather than the person a night. Well done for helping me with that. You've got another little job to do now. So this is a bit of an extension. So you've got 2 tasks to do in English today. I've given you 4 sentences on a sheet, which is on the school website, for you to have a look at applying these words in the correct sentence, okay, the correct context. So have a little look like we've just done. Read the sentence, think about the word that is missing, find the correct homophone and pop it in the right context, okay? So that's 2 jobs that I want you to send over to us today. The first one, make sure you've stopped that video halfway through and looked at those homophones and matched them up. Okay, you can either write that or cut and stick them if you've got them at home. And the second job is to put the right word in the correct sentence. Good luck, as I know this is a bit of a challenging task, but I can't wait to see everything that you all do at home today. See you later.